bringing you the absolute best stories across the ag industry. You're now tuning into How I Built This Ag Business, an original series by AgSwag.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of How I Built This Ag Business. Today we're on here with Rick Brandt and Sierra Brandt. Evelyn and her brother Glen Brandt grew up on a farm near Pleasant Plains, Illinois, and in 1953 they started a fertilizer business to supplement the family farm's income. Fast forward over 70 years, and the company they started is known as Brandt, with sales in more than 80 countries, 49 states, with over 800 employees. With that, I'd like to welcome you guys to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great to be here.
Yeah.
Finally.
Finally made it on. Yeah, I guess let's start with how this thing got started. So Rick, your dad and your aunt started this business back on the farm in Central Illinois. Is that right?
Yeah, back in Pleasant Plains in 1953. So we're 71 years strong now. I'm second generation. Sierra's the third generation, and looking forward to keeping it going for a lot more years.
Yeah. And your dad's from what I've seen, he's kind of a crazy entrepreneur guy. I think I'd read at the time he started this business, he had like 6 or 7 other businesses.
He did. He was in farming. He was at a gas station. I think he had a used car business. He started the fertilizer business. I don't know. Maybe that's where I get some of my crazy ideas from. Just don't analyze it. Just go do it and see what happens. But yeah, he was quite the entrepreneur, and he definitely did good on the fertilizer business. And I got to say, myself and about 800 other people around the globe are very thankful for that effort, because we're getting to thrive from it now.
Yeah. And then did it start with just him, and then he brought his sister in, or they started it together? Or?
Well, he pretty much started the business, and she was the well, they call her the hawk, but she was watching the dollars and cents and taking care of the books and that sort of thing. So it was I would say it was a team effort. He was out doing the work, and she was keeping him in line and keeping everything on track. So it was a joint effort.
Yeah. And then it just started as a local business. They were just selling to people right around their area.
Yeah, and back at that time, that's when nitrogen was, kind of new to farmers, and you're coming out with these products, and and the farmers doubted you if it would even work. It looks like water or whatever. How's that going to do anything? So they had a hill to climb, but they stuck with it and grew it, and it grew it into a nice business over the first 30 or 40 years. I'm trying to do the math real quick. How old the company was when I came in? I came in 1995, so we'd have been about 40 years old at that point.
Yeah. And then how you came in right after school, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I got out of school in 91, started with the company. We had a part-time CEO at the time, and he kind of ran the Brandt companies, and had another company that Brandt actually owned 50% of, so he did that too. And then in 1994, he decided he wanted to sell that company and his company that we own 50% of, and he wanted to retire. And I got the shot at becoming CEO, and I was 29 at the time, so got that opportunity, and that's when it really got fun and exciting, because I had big challenges, to take care of that.
Yeah. And that was Gary Grossweiler, is that right? You worked under?
Yeah, Gary Grossweiler.
Nice. Yeah, I was gonna ask you what tell me a little bit about him, and like what was the best thing you learned from him working under him before taking over CEO?
That's a good question. He taught me, a lot of things, business wise, and probably more importantly, how to get along with people, because we had strong management, or people running those companies at that time, and I think to a large degree they saw a 29-year-old kid coming in that they're thinking, well, we can manipulate him and still run the business the way we want to. And to a large degree that was probably true. I was still learning. I would probably manage a little different now than I did 30 years ago, but that's how you grow, I guess. You live and you learn, and you just try to keep getting better at what you're doing.
And where was your dad? Was he was starting other businesses, or?
No, he was around. He was there. I mean, he was involved in other companies too, but I don't know why, but he had other people running the companies, and um, he was still involved. Don't get me wrong, but he wasn't necessarily the president or the CEO of the company. He had other people doing that. He was chairman of the board, so he was, looking at it from the 30,000-foot level, if you will. But he was definitely involved. So he didn't carry the title, and he was kind of one of those old school guys. I don't care what your title is. Everybody's a salesman, and everybody needs to be watching the books, and everybody should know how to make the products. And that's the way it was back then. I remember he used to get after me. I'd give people titles like, "What do you need a title for?" I'm like, well, people on the outside might want to know who's who. And the title's going to kind of help with that.
And then what,
I see you laughing down there. I'm picking on the old school.
yeah, that's what my dad says. So
That's
I say the same thing.
he says the exact
that.
thing. Yeah, he's like, hey, what the hell you need a title for? Just get out there and make it happen, dude.
Nothing burns my ass more than people walking by work and saying, well, that's not my job. That's not under my title. I'm like, oh my gosh, we're going to deal with it. And then that brings them home. I'm a little old school, so I have to have the kids come in and kind of manage and coach people up. So,
yeah.
So what was it like taking over at 29? Like how many employees do you guys have at the time? What were you guys, was it a pretty big business still at the time, or were you still local level, like regional?
We were, very local in Illinois, central Illinois. This is where our retail base was. Wholesale business is what we call dealer support now. We were central Illinois and maybe more regional, like the state of Illinois, a little bit into Missouri, a little bit into Iowa, but not so much. And then our specialty products, we hadn't really gone international. We just getting to the point where we were going international at that point. We were going to like a little bit to Canada, a little bit to Mexico, and that was about it. And like you mentioned, we're in about 80 countries now. But so we've really grown the specialty business in the last 30 years.
Yeah. And so you guys were pretty regional when you came in, and then hell, you're all over the place now. I think I read you're doing like over 500-600 million in sales. So what do you think like the main thing was that really took you guys to scale? I read that when you first kind of came on, you started doing acquisitions and things like that. Is that kind of the main thing that kind of blew you guys up, or?
I would say, a lot of acquisitions and, a lot of organic growth as well, but it didn't happen right when I came in. Back to what, I was talking about, like, I was younger and maybe didn't know as much or how to do things. And I was looking for acquisitions and growth opportunities and all kinds of, different ways to, do new stuff. And our board of directors at that time was very strict, very conservative. And, I could bring something, to the table, and they could very definitely figure out ways why we shouldn't do the deal. And as opposed to the staff or exec team that I have now, bring something to the table and they'll figure out a way to make it happen. So it's a very different world than what we lived in then. It took me, I became CEO in January of 95, and we didn't do our first acquisition until Halloween of 1999. And it was kind of an interesting story because at the time, management had the authority to spend up to $300,000 without board approval. And we were looking at this little small rundown fertilizer plant in central Illinois. And the guy was close. We were at like, I don't know, 350,000 or something like that. And finally I figured it out. I went back to him. I said, look, I'll give you 290,000 and whatever you want for your inventory. And guy that works for me now is our development officer, Mark Powell. I said, Mark, go down and recount that inventory. So he did. And the guy said, yeah, I'll do the deal at 290 and blah, blah, blah. So I kind of slid it under the door, if you will, from the board. And, that was really, I think that kind of lit the fuse on our acquisitions, because we've done, I think, about 30 acquisitions since then, over the course of the next, 25 years. So they started coming fast and furious at that point. And it was fun and it was different. We had a lot of people thinking, what are you doing? Or, what about all these acquisitions? How are you going to make it work? And, back to the old school. I remember my dad, he used to say, well, how do you know they're going to pay you? Because they're in a different county or a different state, or especially when we got to other countries and the international acquisitions. He was like, well, how do you know those people are going to pay us? How do you know the guy down the street's going to pay you? You don't. It's just different set of rules.
And then, so why do you guys like the acquisition route? Why do you guys continue to go down that journey? Like, is it a complete pain, like going in and buying the company? And we've thought about doing the acquisition route on a few businesses, and we just always figured the culture aspect of it and going in and dealing with their culture and their employees. And is that a complete pain, or?
It can be. And I think, one thing that we've figured out over the course of all this is that we have an incredible culture, very family oriented, very, very, it's almost hard to describe it. We're like, the guys that we work with, we're like family, and, we work all week together. And then on the weekends, we're doing stuff together. Like, you don't see that in a lot of companies. So I think we figured out if we can take our culture and inject it into those, companies when we get them, then we can improve it, and make it, more of a fun company to work for. And fun actually is part of our, what do you call it, your mantra or whatever, that you got hanging on the wall. Or ethics, yeah. So
I don't know what they call it. Yeah, mission statement or something. They said.
Yeah. Tip of my tongue, but wasn't there. Yeah. So, that's one thing. And you got to find good companies, and more importantly, companies with good people that you can, give them new opportunities to do things and to grow and to, make more money and new products and what have you.
Yeah. So when did you get involved in the business, Sierra?
Pretty much my whole life. I started working, I guess, part-time-ish about 2020. That's when I came onto the board. And then I joined the Brandt Foundation board 2022. And then I graduated college in May of 2022 and immediately started working full-time. I've mostly just been working in the marketing and sponsorships side since I live in Tampa. We started a partnership with the Tampa Bay Lightning, and then NASCAR, of course, we've been in for 14 years now. So those are my main areas of where I work. But, as far as working, I've been around my whole life.
Yeah.
Well, we started the foundation in 2012. We were in NASCAR at that time, and Sierra actually kicked off the foundation at a race in Charlotte.
Mm-hmm.
And so she was, at 12 years old, she was in charge of kicking off the Brandt Foundation, which was pretty cool. And we had Evelyn there too, so we had 3 generations of this new, we're a very philanthropic type company, and that was the way to kind of formalize it, and kind of showing also with Sierra being one doing the actual dedication, if you will, that the next generation is coming, and we're going to be just like we have been with the first and second generation, very philanthropic and very giving back to the communities.
Yeah. And what all are you guys doing with the foundation?
We do a lot of different excuse me just a second. Mark, can you shut my door? Thanks. Sorry about that. We have a board, the foundation board, that is made up of at least one person from each of the different companies, or in all parts of the company. So everyone's involved, but we get a lot of requests, and there's a formal process that you do it online for, if you want a donation from the Brandt Foundation. And we try to go mostly into the communities where we work, or that's according to our game plan. But when you look at it, we're in an awful lot of communities anyway, so that doesn't really necessarily rule too many charities out. But then we analyze things that we want to contribute to, and we go about it that way. And I'm trying to remember the numbers. It's been what, a couple $1 million over the last few years that we've
I think almost $1 million.
almost $1 million.
I believe our biggest,
Well, if you include the memorial, that was $1 million in itself.
that wasn't from the foundation.
That's true. Okay.
Yeah. So I think we're almost at,
I got my own hawk.
we're almost at $1 million in donations. Our biggest donation was to the American Red Cross for Hurricane Ian, for all the damages there.
Yeah,
Nice.
perfect.
And then how'd you guys get into the NASCAR stuff? Or did you guys like grow up big racing fans, or it was just like strictly a business transaction and like for marketing purposes? Or seems like you guys been doing it for a while. So
We started, we did, back in 2010, in the spring of 2010, I got a junk email. There was basically a solicitation email from a girl who was representing a driver, and she wanted to, you could fill out or you take the rest of the season, which was probably 25 races or so when it left in the season when the email came out, or you could do as little as one race. And I sat on that email for about 4 months, and I was intrigued by it. And finally, one day I called her and I said, I want to do a race. And
Well, one day we were at Disney and we had just done the Rock and Roller Coaster, Aerosmith's Rock and Roller Coaster. And outside of it, there's a car on like a guitar and a guitar neck. We're just standing there and randomly he goes, "We're going to do NASCAR." Like, what? He's like, "Yeah, we're going to do NASCAR." He hadn't mentioned that he got that email or anything to us. So we were just like, "Oh, okay."
yeah, so I called the girl right then. I said, "We want to do a race." And she said, "Okay, blah, blah, blah." And I said, "Well, I'm at Disney." And she goes, "Oh, well, when you get back from vacation, we can talk." I'm like, no, that's not how it works. We're going to do it now. Just because I'm in an amusement park doesn't mean I'm not working, because obviously I was walking around, for 2 or 3 days thinking about it. When you get that downtime, you kind of gives you time to think about stuff. So we decided to do that race. We did the first race in St. Louis, which was, near our base, closest track to us at that time, and decided to do that race. And honestly, you asked if I was a race fan. I'd been to one NASCAR race before that race, before I had my name on the car. So no, it wasn't because I was a big race fan. It was just a marketing ploy. And then we did that race. Everybody found out we're going to do that race, and people started coming to me and saying, "You need to meet Justin Allgaier." I'm like, "Who's Justin Allgaier?" I said, "Justin Allgaier. He's from Springfield. He's a NASCAR driver." I'm like, I don't know him. And I had never met Justin, and I actually met him the morning after that race. So that was a big deal. It was a lot of money, and scared a lot of people. And I mean, it was an interesting time because we were going way deep into something we'd never been a part of. The next morning after that race, I met Justin for the first time. We had breakfast together and we talked. Over the course of the next couple of weeks, I went up to Charlotte with him, and long story short, we had a deal for a full season in NASCAR for the following season with Justin driving, and at the time it was a company called Turner Motorsports, and so we jumped in full throttle, if you will, at that time. Interesting part was, that's a big marketing ploy for us. We didn't have a marketing department. We had one guy in one company working part-time in marketing. So him and I got together and said, "We don't have a marketing department. Well, how can we do NASCAR?" And the answer was, "We're doing NASCAR, so we darn sure better build this marketing department in place." And that's what we did. I think, that was kind of baptism by fire.
That sounds like us. I told Jordan when he was young, when he was little, he wouldn't remember. But I backed a couple of nothing to your guys' scale. I mean, I backed some dirt track guys, some modifieds. I told Jordan, I'm like, I don't think I could burn money as fast as I was blowing through it early on in the racing thing. And I'm like, wow. But yeah, your level, that I can only imagine. And that's awesome. You guys been able to create it and turn it into something that really helps drive your business and everything. So yeah, great.
Yeah.
Great stuff.
And it's, it scared a lot of people, especially our accountants at that
Yeah.
time. And, that's a lot of money. I'm like, yeah, I know.
Yeah.
But to a large degree, if it doesn't scare you, it's not a big deal, and it's not going to be life changing. So we did it, and it's worked out, and it's definitely we're known for it, and to a large degree, we go. Talking about acquisitions earlier. We go into somebody's office now, and they know who we are. We don't have to explain. We're like, oh yeah, we know you from NASCAR, or maybe other things too. But it's just it's kind of like the fake it until you make it type thing, and NASCAR's helped us do that.
And what does all that like job entail? You had all that up, right, Sierra? Like, is that like full time? You doing that like most of your day?
No, that's not my full time, but I help with most of like the car designs and the paint schemes, and picking out which races we're going to sponsor, because right now we're just the primary sponsor, not just, but we're the primary sponsor. So we do what, 20 out of 33 races.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
wow.
we get to go through the schedule and pick which races we want to do. We base it usually around where we can take guests and customers to maximize that experience for them. But we've got three guys that's most of their job description, and they they do a whole lot. They really keep the program running.
We're very heavily into track activation. So we take potential customers, employees to the races, and back to the marketing aspect. When you take somebody to a race and give them a backstage experience, and you get to spend a couple of days with them, it's a very intimate type process. So you really get to know people, and from a business standpoint, that's really a good thing. So we're not just like giving them tickets and saying, here you go, or something like that. It's no, you're going to come spend time with us. You're going to get to know us. We're going to tell you about Brandt. You're going to learn more about Brandt. You're going to get to learn our race program as well, which is the fun part. You're going to get to know our race car driver. You're going to get to know our exec team, our other employees, and it's a very cool experience.
Our driver Justin has helped a lot with that as well, because he's learned the company in and out, and he basically works a part-time job just representing the company, and he does it well. He's known as one of the most personable guys in the garage, and no one has anything bad to say about him. He's great.
He's been a great ambassador for us.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So what, I guess, how are you guys starting to transition the business? Like, are you starting to take more roles on, Sierra, or are you looking to eventually take over as CEO, or?
So recently we just kind of formed
Don't give her any ideas.
an executive team. So they've been including me as part of the executive team. Personally, my biggest role right now is to sit back, listen, and learn. I'm not making decisions for the company.
But you're part of the team.
I'm part of the team. Yeah, I'm working with them, but for me, I just want to learn as much as I can right now. I also just started grad school to get my master's of business at the University of South Florida. So trying to learn there as well and maximize my knowledge. But yeah, I just, I've grown up around it. So I've learned everything from experience. So now I'm trying to learn the logistics also and learn it by the books. But they've been including me in a lot of the decisions as well. So it helps me, I guess, you just get thrown into it and figure it out.
It's been a good move. Our executive team we kind of made some changes there too, in that the executive team is myself, our CFO, our CMO, our CLO,
CDO.
Chief Development Officer, and Sierra. And the way we've done it is each of the vice presidents of the different companies used to report up to me, which that can be a lot, and they, I might not be able to give them the time that they need or the answers or, whatever. So now all those VPs are reporting to the executive team, and we do it more as a team effort as opposed to, a one-on-one type effort. So if you can't get a hold of me or Joe or Carl or whoever, well, somebody else can get you an answer or get the resource or whatever it is that you need. And that's turned out to be good. And we're making a lot of changes otherwise right now too. But so Sierra is basically on that top tier, or a part of that top tier. She doesn't have to make decisions, but she's a part of that decision making process. And it's been a great way for her to learn. And she's part of the the new hires and the next generation of management, that we're bringing in. So I think much of the company is probably seeing, the third generation is not only is it coming, it's already here, and they're already part of the decision-making process. So it's pretty fun. At the same time, she wants to take my job, and I'm not ready to go yet. So I'm not going to retire until I'm at least 101. I got to keep up with that one.
Yeah. We were on a call, it wasn't that long ago, and I'd always heard through our investing and trading that, third generation's usually where it falls apart, right? The second generation gets to see how the first generation, how hard they worked. And then, they grew it up. And the third generation's usually a little bit removed from it. And if you look through history in the US, not many businesses make it much past 100 years. 100 years is, that's like one hell of a deal. And the kid on the call said, well, he had a little different look. He was about Sierra's age, and he was taking over as the third generation. He was going to be taking over, and he's in a peer group. And he said, though, Rick, when you came in, look, you were in no other countries. You only had X number of employees, and the kid was saying, hey, look, when my dad took over, we didn't have all this. And now, Sierra, when you take over, I mean, you're a global business with, 800 or 1,000 plus employees. You guys are in NASCAR. You got foundations. And it's interesting because I'd never looked at it from that third generation's perspective. There are just so many more moving parts and pieces. Maybe some of the reasons that it does fail or does fall apart. You know what I'm saying? Just because there is so much more. But the ones that make it, my goodness, it's just great success story. But yeah, it's going to be a tough road, isn't it, Sierra? I mean, Rick's built one heck of a massive enterprise here, like just blowing it up, and it's like, wow. So
yeah, it's a lot of.
Gonna be a lot.
I want to say it's a lot of pressure, but at the same time, with the executive team around me, I've got a lot of people around to help me. And
that's what I
expect me to know everything at my age now, especially. So I've got a lot of good help around me.
That's what it's interesting to see that you're putting her in that way, because most of the kids I talk to, like Rick, he may have just came back from college and his dad tossed him into the mix and said, figure it out and go nuts. And then, Rick's going to want to say he's not, because I see what's happening. But a lot of the dads say, hey, this is how I did it. You do it. Just jump in here. But I was just saying, there's so many more moving parts and pieces. It's really interesting that your dad has established that team, and Rick's got the team, and you're part of it, and could see how they make decisions, and you don't have the pressure to have to, call the shot.
I've never had the pressure from him or my mom. It was always, do whatever you want. If you want to be a part of the company, awesome. If not, do whatever you want. So
that's great.
When I went to college, I studied psychology. I followed a path that I was interested in personally. And, now in grad school for business, I've actually started realizing how much psychology plays a part in business as well. So
for sure.
It helped me more than I realized, but not having that pressure, by my parents telling me I have the option, I don't have to be a part of this.
Yeah.
That helped me. I think if I did have the pressure, like, you have to do this, if I was told what I had to do, I don't think I would want to be a part of it as much.
It was reverse psychology.
Yeah.
And it worked.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And
you don't need to do this. You do what you want to do.
I would suspect that psychology degree, though, Jordan would come in. Jordan's CEO of a company now, and he's got employees and he's got problems and and you really are as a CEO, you really are just in the people business, and you
Yeah,
really,
psychology is so I majored in English and philosophy. And if I were to maybe do another major looking back, I would probably do psychology. Like,
I loved it.
yeah, I
Yeah.
think
It's people, it's in everyone.
A little scary from my standpoint because I thought she was going to figure me out.
exactly. Well, Rick, where do you see the darn industry going? Where do you see all this maybe going that Sierra's going to have to deal with, and the younger kids that are in the leadership positions, maybe in the next 20, 30 years? What do you see out on the horizon?
Ag is ever changing, and like a lot of people say, it was changed more in the last 10 years than it did the first 50 or whatever, and that's true. And there's nothing you can do about that. Technologies are changing. We're getting more into biologicals and different stuff like that. That it's just going to be different types of products, and the way you run the company is probably going to be similar, I think. And I think probably the things that Sierra will do with the company, growing the company, I think we'll be getting into more countries around the world, and we're ever increasing our products. That I think she'll probably keep it going, in the same direction, and you just keep growing and growing, and try to keep getting better and better. And I think it's
Are you guys seeing more? Are you guys seeing more government pressure come down the pipe? I'm assuming you think that's going to continue. We're going to continue to push the green and the clean energy and continue to move more and more in that direction. I suspect, don't you?
I think we are. I think there's, we could have a long conversation about that. I think there's a lot of government, pushing that isn't maybe the best, or maybe they're pushing too hard. And especially on the, electric cars and stuff like that. And, that's great. Solar's great and all that, but really, what is the long-term effects? And we should be, looking at, what's best for the environment in the longer term. It's not just in the short term, because there are, for every action, there's a reaction, and there are results that, come from those things. But I think as a whole, in general, ag is going in the right direction.
Yeah.
Are you guys getting involved in like biologicals and things, or is that something you're staying clear of?
We are, and we're looking to get into biological production, if you will. I'm not really at liberty to go into too many details because we're kind of at the crossroads on some deals right now.
So you guys are believers in the biological stuff? Like,
oh yeah.
You think we're moving towards that way? I know some
stuff
work, some stuff doesn't work. I mean, we're kind of in a.
Yeah, no, that's what I mean. We're going that direction. I think you want to go at a good pace, not just full throttle into okay, this is what we're going to do.
Yeah, and then you guys also own another company called I think it was Trademark Nitrogen. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What do you get? How'd you get into that? Is that something you started, or you guys bought that, or?
I'm the sole owner of it now. Actually, my dad was part of it back in the early '80s, and he was actually a minority partner at that time. And then I got involved with it in the late '80s, and and when I got out of school, I got on their board of directors, and it kind of evolved. That a couple of people wanted to retire, and so I bought their stock, and then over time, I ended up just buying everyone out, and so I own that company wholly now. It's located here in Tampa also, and to a large degree, I like at that time I liked being involved in that company, so I could get out of Illinois, come to to Tampa, and enjoy the the good weather and stuff here. But that is still ran as an independent company. It's not a brand company, but we do affiliate a lot of things together with that company.
Yeah. What do they do? What do they do?
Specialty nitrates, ammonium nitrate production facility.
Perfect.
Has there ever been like a company or space you guys gotten involved in, or a big deal you've done like NASCAR that like maybe hasn't gone as planned? Like maybe like what's one pitfall you could leave us with as listeners? Like, hey, maybe don't go over there and mess with that stuff.
We got into a tree injection business in Spain several years ago, and it just didn't work out the way it should. You know, and in hindsight, it's funny. I was going into the closing, and the attorney from the other side said, "You sure you want to do this?" I'm like, "Yeah." I mean, I thought I had good advisors, which I do, but we don't shoot 100%, I guess. We got into that company, and then a few years later, we ended up, I think, paying our way out of it. But that's the way it goes sometimes. You live and you learn, and we've had way more successes than we've had failures. So that's a good thing.
Yeah. And so is your guys' motto, like, I think I read, like, go big or go home? Is that like your family motto?
That's probably my personal motto. Yeah, I tend to use that one a lot.
Yeah. So you're all in guy.
I like to go big. I like to do things big. I like to do them right. But,
Yeah.
you know, and I think our marketing guy, Carl, is kind of maybe amplified that aspect of me, because he would always say that when I want to do something, he always go, "Of course, you're going to go bigger, you're going to go home." I'm like, true. And, you know, to me, I didn't
And
realize.
he's usually not going to go home.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I hear you. I mean, if anything's worth doing, it's worth doing it right and going all in. We've seen, at least through the people and friends I've had, that have made it really big. And, you know.
Yeah. And I don't know if you follow me on Twitter or X, I guess, or Facebook or whatever, you see the hashtag cause a party, or hashtag party cause, you know, when we just had a big success. And that's not just winning races, but, you know, every time, you know, I used to, every time before Justin would get in the car, I'd say cause a party. And one day he got out, he said, "Party caused." I'm like, "Good job." But I actually have that trademark, that hashtag, which is kind of cool.
Wow. Yeah, it is. Yeah, for sure. So
you guys, what do you got on that? What do you got on your wall back there? Is that a Kiss guitar?
Yeah. I've got that's Gene Simmons guitar. I've got Tommy Thayer guitar and a Paul Stanley guitar all here in the office. We're Kiss fans.
yeah.
We did the VIP experience a few years ago here in Tampa. Got the meet and greet. You can get the guitars. You have to ante up for them. So we got the guitars and we got them signed, and we actually did two more of the VIP experiences with Kiss. Over the course of the End of the Road tour. There's another one. If I can't see that, there's another one back here behind me that's signed, and then there's a couple of drums from them as well. So
Yeah, we took the kids to Kiss concert when they were little, when they were young. They're like, "Hey, man, this is all right."
Yeah,
so they're big
well,
fans.
I was always a rocker, I guess, and, you know, growing up, Sierra had to listen to it all the time, and so I think it's kind of been ingrained in her, and she's back in the '80s rocker also.
Yeah. And you guys, did you guys recently start a record company too?
I did. It's kind of another cool story. You know, Justin was the hometown kid, so when we got into NASCAR, you know, it was, I think, you know how farmers are, they wouldn't accept it if we were out spending that kind of money on just whoever driver. But when we hooked up with Justin, it was cool because, well, it's the hometown kid, so it was kind of more acceptable. There's a girl from our hometown also, or from Springfield, that's singer songwriter, and she's been in Nashville for a few years, you know, just trying to get that break. And I got with her, and we kind of figured out, like, look, okay, I'll start a record label. We'll both be owners in it, and we're going to basically make you famous. And so that's kind of where we are. She's just at the cusp. She's getting music out. She just dropped her first album. Well, no, actually her second album, the first album since I got together with her. And it's fun to see it starting to take off. Her name's Kelsey Hickman, and she's darn good. She's really good. Got a great voice, and people in Nashville believe in her. And, you know, to me, it's kind of like a hobby. My wife sometimes says, "Why do you have a record label?" I say, "Because I don't like to golf," you know. So that's what I do instead.
That's a good one. I agree with that. I agree with you there. So for sure, I had a buddy that started a label and they blew it up. I mean, Tech Nine's honestly, I mean, he just blew it up here, and he's made a fortune from it. But everyone thought it's like, how are you going to do it? And he just started it. Hell, Jordan, it wasn't that long ago, wasn't it? Maybe about 10 years ago.
Yeah.
he's
I did it
representing.
as a vehicle to help Kelsey, and it's
Yeah.
it's work, and it kind of
Sure.
puts everything in a business format, and it helps her get the things done that she needs to do, and we're keeping track of what's what. And actually had uh, our folks in Nashville call me the other day, like, we'd like to meet with you. We think you can the what you call it, the era, if you will, is right now. The big labels are struggling, and they're getting rid of a lot of people, and the little labels like mine, I got one artist. It might be the time that if you want to blow it up and take on more artists, it's probably a good time, because that's kind of where the industry is going. It's kind of like the ag industry, things change and they get different, and the big guys aren't currently doing as well, and the little guys are going to have opportunities. So
Yeah, I
might
can
have
see
a bigger record label there one of these days.
Yeah, for sure. That'd be cool.
Yeah.
Certainly. So
Yeah, I guess, we'll start to wrap this thing up. Is there any other like stories or anything you wanted to share with us? Is there maybe like a good story you two have had throughout the years, or maybe a story when Sierra was little, or?
One thing that Sarah didn't mention, she came on the board when she was, what, 20?
Mhm.
When did you buy stock?
2019.
So Sierra became a shareholder in the company in 2019. But the cool thing was, Evelyn at the time wanted to sell some shares, and we're 100% family owned right now. It's 3 women and me. So my sister, my aunt, and then Sierra bought shares from Evelyn. But it was a cool transaction, because it went from first generation to third generation, and Evelyn was she was, I think, thrilled about that, and she's getting to see the company keeping going, and the third generation coming in, and it was at a time when she was wanting to get rid of some shares to get some cash for philanthropic reasons. So it worked out perfect, and so Sarah's been an owner for what, 5 years now.
Almost, yeah. And it was
wow.
cool because at the time, my grandpa, GB, he was still alive. So he got to see me as the third generation come in as well.
no, that's awesome. Yeah, for sure.
Cool.
He was
Yeah,
interested. He was always like, she's a girl, she can't run the company. Since she was little, he would say that. I was always, game on.
We're big on the saying, the future is female, big on female empowerment. Like he said, we're 75% women owned. So
Yeah, I know Lucy McMillan Stitzer, her grandpa started Cargill, and it was always similar. It was a big deal for her and her sister to get on the board at Cargill. A lot of the older men had, just didn't see that women could handle it. And, hell, Lucy's runs she was on, I think, the chair of their family board. And she's one of the wealthiest women in the United States. And it's like, she's just awesome too. And it's just great to see women get in places where, because I mean, I always tell people, well, a lot of times my best people have always been women. I mean, I don't know, my best employees, when we were in Chicago, a lot of the best traders were the women, and a lot of it, I don't know why there aren't more in the ag space in powerful positions, but I think that's coming for sure. So
yeah, it's a very male dominated
area
still. So I think that kind of gives the women a little bit more motivation as well to prove ourselves.
Yeah, if you ever get a chance, you should come up. We have an event every year called FarmCon in Kansas City. And it started out just a bunch of high-end traders and hedge fund guys getting together, doing crazy businesses like your dad. And we all throw money at all kinds of crazy stuff. And we'd get together every year, drink beer, shoot shit, and kind of tell each other what new business and trading idea. And then it just kind of blew up, and everyone kind of started inviting their friends. But yeah, we got a lot of cool women that are doing a lot of good stuff. So yeah, you should come sometime. Kansas City, man. Yeah, it's a good time. So good event. Yeah, love to have you if you ever want to come up.
Send the invite.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we'll talk crypto stuff. We do all kinds of.
January.
Yeah, it's in January. Yeah, you'd like it. It's fun. Like I said, everybody goes out and has a good time, and we'll have crazy crypto guys there. We'll have young kids there from West Coast or New York. In most of the ag community, the guys that are just deep in the ag space that are big. There'll be a lot of the folks like you, family-owned, big, large businesses in ag, and they've just never seen a lot of this stuff. We'll have just different strange things there, and it's pretty cool. So yeah, it gives people a chance to see a lot of that. So
that sounds really cool.
Yeah, for sure. And you guys are down in Tampa with your headquarters and still in Springfield and all that jazz. So yeah, we got to hook up sometime, Jordan, for sure.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Yeah. Is there, do you have any other questions for him, Dad, or?
No, I just, like I said, I was excited to hear the story. I'd heard Rick really blew things up over there and like took it to crazy big level. And yeah, I think it's awesome. So I just appreciate having the opportunity to meet you guys. And we started this damn thing, Rick, just to give back to the ag. I'm from a small rural town, and I didn't really, I got lucky, ended up in Chicago Board of Trade, and traded grains and livestock and different things like that. So I sat on the board of a lot of big ag companies and stuff. So we just did this to give back to the community and really give back to the younger kids. I had two that are also in the industry and the business now. And I thought it'd be cool to just help younger kids try and see what the older guys have done and how they built it. Maybe we can give them some tips and insight. And
That's awesome that you did that.
yeah, help them along their journey. So yeah, I love hearing you guys the way you're structuring things and
Are you originally from Illinois?
What was that?
Were you originally from Illinois?
No, I was originally from just south of Kansas City, a small town called Peculiar, Missouri. So yeah, crazy shit. I moved back. So we go there. I'll give you a good story. So we go there. I moved there. I worked for the NFL for a few years out of college, and my wife gets this big time. We didn't have shit for money. My family didn't make any money. We're high school sweethearts. She didn't come from any money. And we go to Chicago, and they fly my wife up there, and they're going to have her be her premier person for Eddie Bauer. When Eddie Bauer was kind of blowing up, she was going to be their spokesmodel, their person. And they were opening a new store on Michigan Avenue. So a bunch of my buddies in the NFL said, shit, you got to get in the trading world. And I said, God, I just like to party and played sports and, but just kind of crazy through my younger years. And I said, I don't know shit about trading or economics. And they said, hell, come at it. So they hooked me up with a guy, and I go in there, and I was about 6'4". I was probably 6'4", about 280 at the time. And they're like, God damn, you're a big, tall guy. And I said, yeah. The guy looks at me and says, well, do you like to fight? I'm not lying. This is like the first two questions. And I said, well, yeah, I go out every weekend, and I'm either getting in a fight or, doing something crazy or chasing women or doing something nuts. And they said, well, shit, you'll be perfect. And I said, well, what am I doing? What's the job? And they're like, oh, you'll be on the floor. You'll be like trying to get orders off for me because everyone will see you if you're big and tall. When you see people yelling and screaming down there. And I said, that's it? And they're like, yeah, we'll call you with an order and you put it in. See, I started as just, at the bottom level and kind of worked my way up and just happened to meet the right people. And we all moved home. Wife got homesick with the two kids. So we moved back to Peculiar, our hometown. And shit, I bought the bar, the restaurant. We owned, a bunch of the town. My wife was like, you've lost your mind. I went home one night. I always tell her, you'll love the story because we sound like the same, don't we, Jordan? I came home. I was up in town with a bunch of the guys, and I came home and said, hey, I think I bought that bar uptown tonight. And my wife's like, what do you mean you think? And I said, well, I don't know. I started running my mouth and I wrote a check and I said, I think we own that bar. And she's like, the hell are we going to do with that? And I said, I don't know. You figure that out, babe. You go up and run that thing tomorrow. Sure shit. We bought the bar. She wanted to kill me. And so yeah, I'm sure you've got tons of experience, Rick, with that. Coming home, telling them, like you said, you're at Disney World. Next thing you're in the NASCAR business. Does that sound right, Jordan?
Every day.
Every day, something different. So I don't know. Yeah, we'll have to hook up somewhere, I'm sure. So it's good stuff.
Yeah. Tell that one.
My papa used to say, some of the best deals get done in the bar.
Exactly. Oh, yeah. Well, that's what I'd tell my wife. I'd come home, she'd open the door, and she'd be like, drunk again. And I'd say, yeah, so am I. Let me in, babe. Who knows? What do you do? We were having an argument the other night. We were arguing about something. She's like, you had the damn kids dropped off at the bar when they were in second and third grade. And I said, babe, we had just bought a bar and a restaurant at the time. And that was a spot. And the kids are like, Mom, we loved it. It was all Dad's friends and stuff up there. And they were all just playing games and acting. I said, let's see you there. It was good for them. Good learning experience for them. Made them on street.
Looks like they did all right.
Yeah, hell, that's what I'm saying. They figured it out. So good stuff. Yeah. So we won't keep you guys, but yeah, if you need anything from us, or like I said, if you guys ever want to come up or you want to come to show or conference, just let us know. Shit, we'll hook you guys up. Stay in one of our places. We got some really cool. We got into buying a bunch of historical buildings, so we got some cool places you can stay or whatever you need if you're in Kansas City. Yeah, if you're ever in Kansas City, a concert or race or something.
Do you guys own a Frank Lloyd Wright, or are you guys just into that stuff?
Um, no, my mom was really into Frank Lloyd
Yes,
Wright.
I read somewhere that you guys were into it.
Yeah. Yeah, cool.
Actually, that's how I ended up at school in Florida. Was I started out at Florida Southern College over in Lakeland, which is a big Frank Lloyd Wright designed campus. And she was big in Frank Lloyd Wright. And she's like, maybe you should go to school there.
That's cool.
That's where I ended up. But,
Yeah. Awesome. So yeah, for sure. Anytime, like I said, you guys get down this way, hit us up. You know, we'd love to meet you. Take you to dinner. Yeah.
We'll be there in a couple of weeks racing.
Oh yeah. Hell yeah. That's true. So yeah, maybe we'll see you again. Is that coming up to Kansas City, or we just have it? Yeah, I can't remember.
I'm trying to remember. Week after next, I believe.
Oh, really?
I think it's Kansas State.
Well, let's see.
It is.
Yeah, in Kansas. It's at Kansas Speedway. Yeah, probably. Yeah.
It's just right up
Just
there.
right. City. About 20 minutes. So
Yeah,
yeah, for sure.
Was there anything else you guys wanted to talk about or ask us or anything, or?
I think we're good.
Yeah, for sure. So cool. So that'll work. Appreciate it. Yeah, for
it's
sure.
done.
Yeah.
Sorry it took so long to get together, and we still didn't get Evelyn on the schedule, but it's not easy to wrangle a 101-year-old.
I'll bet. I'm sure. So that's awesome though. Great for you guys. So
I guess that's a good thing.
yeah. So all right. Well, heck yeah. And we get down to Florida every winter too. So maybe I'll look you up at some point when we're down there. So
Colorado, come back. We got the same view as this in the winter as we do in the summer. So.
I bet. Good stuff. I hear you. So
yeah.
Beats the hell out of here. All right. You guys have a good one.
All right. Appreciate you guys.
All right, thank you.
Thanks.
All right.